name is Sofia Bakara, and welcome to Coming Home to Her. I wanted to touch base. I feel like I say this every single episode, but genuinely, everything I talk about is something that pops up in my mind or something that I feel the need to share because I have gone through all of these things and I'm going through all of these things, and I'm sure that in a month's time, there will be other things that I'm going to be going through that everyone, I'm sure, can relate to in one aspect or another. I recently have been in a phase where I wouldn't say that I feel 100% myself, if I can say that. Nothing is wrong, and I absolutely love my life, but everything or some things feel also a bit off that I can't necessarily put my words into, if that makes any sense at all. And through this kind of thought and let's say self-realization slash reflection, it's made me realize that I am not the same person I used to be. And that's really okay. I have found it's so interesting within my experience that there are sometimes moments where you genuinely realize that you are outgrowing, let's say, old past versions of yourself. And sometimes it's a really bizarre feeling of feeling lost, of feeling confused, also feeling behind sometimes, if we are comparing it, let's say, to other people's lives around us, and something that is really unsettling. I, at the moment, am really trying to be present of one, accepting the fact that perhaps I am going through a bizarre phase of change and growth that I probably am not even realizing at the moment. Also looking back and seeing that I'm not the same person that I used to be. Let's say throughout these experiences and transitions and identity crises and all the shebang that comes with it. For myself, something I've learned is to really focus on being present in where I am, what I'm doing, and acknowledging and being extra grateful for all the wonderful things and people around me, the wonderful opportunities that I'm having, etc. Sometimes when we are in these phases of the unknown, it's so easy to look at our situation and compare it to someone around us or someone on the internet. I mean, I briefly touched base on this in a past episode where I spoke about feeling behind, but I don't want to reiterate or repeat myself. But in this sense of also just kind of not knowing what the heck is going to happen. We, of course, look at everyone around us and think like, wow, that's really inspiring. And most of my friends are in their late 20s to early 30s, where they are all doing such wonderful things or living such beautiful lives. And sometimes I forget, I'm literally 25, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I want to do that. But I also didn't know them at the time that when they were my age. I don't know what their transitions look like in that sense. And let's say through all this growth, you've let go of what felt certain, but you haven't gotten to a place that feels stable yet. And that's really hard to accept, honestly. If we can put it into, let's say, my real life experiences have gone through so much change and so much growth, and also this current bizarre transitional phase that I'm in, there's so many things that connect to it. For example, I mean, moving to a new city, that's a lot of growth that you have to do. Whether you realize it or not, you are forced to grow. You are forced to learn new things, create new habits, etc. Also, I mean, being from Hawaii, this tiny little island in the middle of the Pacific called Maui, I am absolutely not the same person that I used to be when I lived at home. Throughout my childhood and with having had moved to the EU 7 years ago, there will always be core elements that make me who I am, which I absolutely love. But naturally, I'm not going to be the same person that I was when I lived there. It's funny, if I can kind of take it back to every time I go home, it always takes me a few days to adjust. Obviously not in a negative aspect at all, but more in the sense of you really realize how much you've grown when you go back to a place that used to be your home and will forever be your home, but maybe you don't identify so intensely with it on a daily basis. And that's really okay. And there are always moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, I am absolutely not the same person I was a year ago. And I'm not. And I actually love that. I remember maybe almost 2 years ago, I was in this specific friend group, and some things had happened during that time. And I remember she came up to me one day and she was like, "You're not the same. You're not yourself." And I was like, "What?" And it was so funny because although it was very rapid change, I would say, over the course of a few weeks, I completely did a 180. We, at the time, were going out a lot. We were partying. We were hanging out with a certain group of people, socializing. And I was tolerating it and, super involved, super outgoing, etc. And then when I met my partner, I really did like a full 360 where I genuinely came back to who I am in my core. And it's funny when you make new friends or friends during a certain period of your life, they look at that, or they look at, the way that they met you, or how you are, And I remember telling her, like, "Sorry, girl, but you actually don't know who I am. You've met me during this certain phase of my life, and that's actually not who I am." Which is so funny to think about because, okay, I can go on a full-on tangent about friendships, but bringing it back to like growth and being in transitions and having different versions of yourself in different time periods of your life is something that's so normal. And if you're not growing naturally, if you're the same person that you were when you were 18 to 30 or something, there's something that's not connecting. And really just being okay with that. I think growth is something that gets a really positive rep, honestly, at least in my algorithm on social media, where it's something really beautiful if you are wanting to embrace it, not to sound woo-woo, but if you have that emotional depth and that self-reflection and, let's say, curiosity of getting to know yourself in a different aspect and wanting to better yourself. I always say that, but it's true every day, trying to do something better. It's really awesome. I love the word awesome. And with this whole crisis and stuff, I mean, the things you like change. Also, what you're tolerating changes. How you spend your time changes. Maybe beforehand you were giving your energy too much to certain things that now you are like, absolutely no. And that's all a part of growth. I think we all can agree from a young age we have always, let's say, have seen ourselves in a certain light or have dreamed or daydreamed about us doing a certain thing that brought you a lot of passion or whatever. That's why I also find it super important to just do things that literally scare you. I think it's really, honestly, wonderful as a child that you have all these, let's say, goals and dreams, and you really, really, really believe in yourself, which is something that I don't want to say dimpers down as you get older, but if you are working in a corporate world, it's something perhaps that you don't have too much time or, let's say, capacity in your day-to-day basis to really focus on because you have other goals you need to meet. Sometimes it's so important to also kind of take a step back in these transitional phases of reevaluating what it is that you actually want. What are things that bring you joy? Being grateful for what's around you. And I actually told my dad this morning is you need to remind yourself, and we all need to remind ourselves how fortunate and lucky we are to wake up every day with a body that works. We even get the chance to wake up, and that's something we take for granted. And obviously there is, let's say, a gap in between this all. Personally, I was the type of person last year, or not I was the type of person, I am the same person, but I've made tremendous growth from that time to now. And there are certain goals that I have hit in the past where now there are more goals that I would like to, achieve in the future. And being in this transition limbo, it's just a gap of where you are and where you're going to go. With being consistent and putting in the effort of moving forward to your goals is the strongest thing anyone can do for themselves. Not to sound woo-woo, but it is important. I mean, you can't just sit on your couch all day and expect things to fall into your lap. I saw a girl on TikTok say something that really stuck with me, which was, don't try to be 28 at 25 because you don't know what it feels like or what you'll know at 28. And that's so true. I mean, you really can't rush into a version of yourself that you haven't lived yet. And there's so much to learn. I mean, obviously, everyone at every age is so different, maturity-wise, experiences, opportunities, etc. And that doesn't make anyone less, of course. But a big reminder for yourself to also just live your age. Sometimes I feel a little pressure around me of people having babies, people getting married, and people saying like, you should just do that. And I'm like, no, I'm 25, there's no rush. There's a moment for everything in life. And obviously I want these things, but why rush something? It could be anything when you still have so many, let's say, transitions and changes and growth to live before coming to a place that perhaps those things feel ready, or whatever it may be that you are thinking of. And to kind of round this all out, we try to skip timelines, and we really try to also want to feel like we're there already. That's actually something I genuinely really struggle with. I would say that I am a very, I wouldn't say controlling type of person, because I personally like to have, I guess, as much control in my life as possible. Not about other people, but about the things I'm doing, the things I want to do, etc. I like to kind of have things planned out. Very Virgo of me. But obviously I can't do that. And that's also just not how life works, and that's totally fine. But something that I personally am trying to just release and not let it stress me out, because it doesn't bring me any good. It just brings me anxiety. We are, or I am, hopefully you are feeling connected to this episode, of just being in a phase that things are changing. You have a certain amount of control that you can work on or do or put in effort, etc. But also, it's just a time of being grateful for what's around you and letting it go. I mean, seriously, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. What is meant to be for you will be yours. And that's, I wouldn't say a motto, but something I do like to live by, because it takes away that unnecessary anxiety and stress, and also just takes away the pressure. Like, why do we need to have it figured all out? I mean, honestly, I would love to know like my life in year to year for the next 30 years, but that's just not how it is. And there's nothing wrong with that as well. And if you feel like you don't recognize yourself right now, it's probably not a bad thing. It's probably that you're genuinely just in a growth phase. And that's honestly pretty cool. And now to the reflection questions. Question number 1. Do I miss who I used to be, or am I just uncomfortable being someone new? I wouldn't say that I miss who I used to be, because I carry those parts of myself that will forever be engraved in myself, and I'm very happy with who I am becoming and who I am. I am also, I guess, happy to become someone new. I think change is something that, although it's super scary and uncomfortable and like, it's also so important. You will never develop as a person without any change. So I'm also excited with who I'm going to become, or who I am becoming, because you're not going to be a different person. You're just going to add layers to yourself, which I think is really beautiful. And the second question, what direction do I feel like my life is going in right now? I would say that I am definitely in a phase of building a foundation, which is something that I have had, of course, experiences in the past couple of years of doing, but I wouldn't say that it genuinely felt, let's say, more of a base. I also feel that there is a lot of change going on, work-wise, creative-wise. So thank you for listening, and please don't feel like you are lost or broken or behind or anything in that aspect. Just embrace the transitions, and perhaps it's a long transitional phase or perhaps it's a short one. But, when we get to be older, from what I see from the older people around me, you always look back and you're like, oh, it made sense. Or, oh, yeah, those good times during that transition phase, although it was perhaps a little more difficult or confusing. So embrace the change. Bye. Thank you.